I think both Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's legal teams are doing a fine job. They're not incompetent people. And it seems like people are going out of their ways to say that maybe they've missed something and that they know better than these professionals. Especially with this new text exchange where it's Johnny Depp. You can see it's Johnny Depp because of his signature exclamation point, 3 exclamation points after everything. He has a specific style of writing. It matches that text message where he said that he wanted to drown Amber and burn her. It matches that kind of style. You can tell that it's him, or someone who's going out of their way to pretend to be him. And people have come up with all these ludicrous theories of like why it's not him, and maybe Amber took his phone. But notice, this is in 2017. This is after they were separated. She was nowhere near him. Amber could not have done this. He knows he could not blame Amber for this. He said, maybe a random person took my phone and wrote this stuff out. I never did this. And then there's weird theories of like Molly is in reference to drugs. Again, that's not what Johnny Depp said. He said it's a random person using my phone and trying to say this bizarre stuff for some reason. He never said it was drugs. And if you read what it's saying, it makes no sense for it to be talking about drugs. Maybe the first part, but like the second part, where he's like, I want to change her understanding of what it is like to be thrashed about like a pleading mackerel. I need, I want, I take. That, it seems like he's talking about a human woman or something. Like, it's not a pill. He's not talking about like a pill. This is maybe not a human woman. Maybe he's talking about an animal. Maybe he's talking about a dog. If only he had that defense when he was like talking about the drowning Amber and burning Amber. What if he could have said Amber was slang term for a new drug? That could have worked. That would have made a lot more sense than it being a movie reference. But he didn't think of that, unfortunately. But this is clearly him. And the fact, when he's denied doing it, because this is an important point to make, like, this isn't specific to Amber, he's not responding to trauma. This is a him problem. This is the way he speaks, and establishing that he talks this way to other women, it makes it seem like there's a pattern. And it's got nothing to do with Amber. She didn't affect this. She didn't inspire this new way of being. This is just who he is. She's not controlling him. It's not reactive abuse on his part to say this stuff about her. It's completely his choice. And the weird theories about like maybe the lawyers mixed it up and the incoming message is switched up and that someone sent it to him and he didn't send this out to someone else. Again, the lawyers are not idiots. They're expensive lawyers. They're celebrity lawyers. They know what this is. This was evidence that his team put in. Like, this is him speaking. It's definitely him speaking. There's no way around it. And like, to think that his assistant was the one to send him these messages. For what reason would you send messages like this to your boss? It's ridiculous. That's not the case. It's definitely Johnny Depp doing it. It matches his style. It matches his way of speaking. He clearly has this pattern of misogynistic kind of ideas in his head. And it's just better to just, like, accept that that's who he is. Like, enough of this charade. The thing that Johnny's being accused of is very serious, like sexual assault, and with trying to figure out, is he capable of doing these kinds of things? And another thing that they brought up is maybe he doesn't give that much money to charity, and that was something he kind of stuttered when he was trying to go against it. His lawyer Ben Chu made this whole speech about how he gave $100,000 to the ACLU, And that was the money that he was supposed to give to Amber to give to them. And she didn't want him to give it to them because she was like, I don't want you to get the tax break, da da da. And that was the main thing that was in his name that he gave to charity, was that check for 100,000. And it's not a ton of proof that he is supportive of women. You know what I mean? Like, it's not. And when he eventually did answer the question of if he does give that much money to the charities, he says that he does do it. He just doesn't leave his name on it because he doesn't want recognition for that kind of thing. And then they show all the ways that he does these public things for charities where he's there and he gets publicity by going to the Make-A-Wish kids and the sick kids hospitals, and they're just wondering, like, really, you don't need your name to be on this kind of thing? It just makes it seem fishy. We don't know. There's all kinds of ways that you can prove that his money is going into stupid things that people don't like. And if he were to ever win, I don't think he could win, but if he were to ever win, I don't think he would be awarded damages because he spends his money in all these stupid, frivolous ways that I don't think the jury people would like. They don't want to give him money. He's just kind of too irresponsible with his money, and that's kind of been proven at this point. Like, the whole thing about spending $3 million shooting a dead man out of a cannon, that's heartbreaking to a lot of people. He literally just like burned money into the sky. So I don't think they're going to be too sympathetic about that. But yeah, it's not a lot of proof that he's a nice person who truly cares about women and sick kids, and like making this whole song and dance about how he gave 100,000 to the ACLU against Amber's wishes just to spite her. It's really not a good look overall. Another interesting revelation was this whole mark under Johnny Depp's eye. I don't know if it even is a mark or what it is. Amber said that there was nothing wrong with him, and he said that Amber caused that mark by punching him on this train, and they have pictures of the day before that happened where he already had that mark on his face. So it makes Amber seem like a little bit more credible than he is, and that he maybe lied and accused her of doing something that she didn't do. So when this whole thing comes down to he said, she said, and who's a more credible witness, this is a point to Amber's side, and saying that Johnny Depp is maybe a liar and accusing her of these things that she did not do. And that's going to come in handy when it comes to this finger incident and who caused that, because she's denying that she did it and he's saying that Amber did it. And there's a bunch of evidence here and there suggesting that maybe she did not do that either. And disproving that Amber is abusive in the same level as he is going to be very important when it comes to awarding damages. And if they can disprove the level of her abuse, then that's going to be good for her side in a big way. There was this new witness for the Hicksville thing to say that Johnny Depp didn't cause as much damage as she said, or any of her witnesses there said. They said that he only broke a light socket or something, like it wasn't that big a deal, and she's saying that it was a much bigger deal, and this random person just came out of the woodworks to defend him just to be like get 15 minutes of fame, basically. That's what her team are saying. And it's not going to be too hard to believe that idea, like that these people just came on to weigh in on something that they don't know anything about. It's not going to be too difficult to believe that kind of thing. There's people confessing to murders that they don't commit. Like, it's very easy to believe that these people don't know anything and they just came on for no reason. But when it comes to, like, could Johnny Depp cause this kind of damage like that she described? And you look at his history and he has that track record of doing this kind of thing. He quoted some magazine that he said, and this thing with Kate Moss, like he got questioned for domestic abuse kind of stuff because of the property damage. Like and Kate Moss was there, and they thought, did he do something to her? So he was questioned about it, and he's saying that he didn't do anything, and maybe he didn't do anything because Kate Moss testified and she didn't say that he did anything, but just there's this property damage, $9,000 worth of property damage that he caused, and he blamed it on angry armadillo that was never found. But you can basically tell that Johnny Depp did cause that damage. He says that he gets mad and he breaks like lamps and picture frames and this and that furniture. He broke it. He's admitting to doing this kind of thing. It's not going to be hard to believe that he wrecked that trailer in the way Amber and all her witnesses to that thing described. Like, a bunch of people saw it. Her acting coach came in and saw it. I think her acting coach who's not a friend, who's got no reason to lie on her behalf, is very convincing in the things that she said, saying that she noticed signs of abuse with Amber, saying that Amber, like, a very convincing thing is saying that Amber is not very good at crying, acting crying. She's not good at that. And yet she saw Amber crying for real on numerous occasions because of the verbal abuse that she witnessed Johnny Depp doing. So I think, depending on how they define abuse, I think it's very easy to side with Amber and believe that those things happened, because unless you have a picture of what that trailer looked like after the incident, it's just he said, she said at this point, and it's very believable that Johnny Depp caused that amount of damage that she described. Back to Johnny Depp's finger story. He got an expert in, a medical expert. Amber got her one in to say that it's pretty much impossible for him to have gotten that injury in the way that he described. And he got an expert in on his side to say it's possible that a vodka bottle could have caused that injury. But he had to be very careful about the way he worded it. What his doctor was saying was, like, comparing it to Amber's story of the phone, smashing the phone to smithereens. It was like he would have had more injuries if that was the case. I don't disbelieve that Johnny broke that phone in the way she described. Some people said that phone did not exist, and now, based on what Johnny Depp has said in what he said under oath in the UK trial, it's obvious that phone did in fact exist, and it's possible that he could have broken that phone in the way she described. So her story's adding up. His story, what he's saying that Amber did, is very confusing to me. I've been trying to picture this thing. I think he has changed the story on the stand. He kind of described it in the same way Amber did, where they were both stood up. She took the bottle from him. She took a step back and she threw it behind his head. And now Johnny Depp has kind of changed the story to say that he's always been sat down behind the bar. She took a vodka bottle, a normal one, threw it behind. It went past his head. She picked up a bigger vodka bottle, this giant one with a handle, and she threw it low so that it met with his hand. And when I'm trying to picture it, it's like he has so much time to react, to move his hand before it hits him. I don't think he would have just, like, not moved his hand. If he can anticipate where she's gonna throw it, there's enough time for him to move. It's very hard for me to believe that she would have done that, and I don't understand why she would have thrown it so that it would hit his hand. It's almost like she's trying to hit his hand, and it makes no sense for her to try to do that. It's either like an accident or something. It's just not adding up to me. And my theory, like based on like everything that they've said, like the doctor said, it seems like the cut was clean, like it was cut clean off. And the story about the accordion doors, the first expert on Amber's side said that made a lot of sense because of the crush injury. And if I had to guess, we will never know the truth about this thing. If I had to guess, I would say he crushed it on the accordion door. It caused some damage, not complete. And then he walked over and cut it with a knife so that it completely cut straight off. Because they found the finger and it was balled up in some tissues. That's the state that finger was found in. It was in tissues. So it makes it seem like he did cut it off. Maybe it was an accident and then he cut it off completely. And that's why it was balled up in some tissues, because he didn't explain why it ended up being found balled up in those tissues. And that's how I'm seeing it now, if I had to guess, because I think it is a combination of two things. I think it was an accidental thing. He hurt some way, we don't know how. Maybe it could be all kinds of things. He hurt in some way, and then at some point maybe he did decide to cut it off, and that's why it was found. It balled up in those tissues. That's my best guess, personally. When it comes to Camille Vasquez, this whole thing about TMZ, in my opinion, that was a very strong point that she had, where there was some reasonable doubt. And the more I'm thinking about it, Amber's has given more time to explain her side of it, and I've been going over it because I remember when this case first came out, and it wasn't like people just believed Amber straight off the bat. There's a lot of doubt cast on her story, and I think the fact that this video came out, it made her look very suspicious to people. It made you think she's not too scared of him, she's setting him up. Same thing with the bruise. Like, people think that maybe she's an opportunist gold digger because the paparazzi got pictures of her bruise like that, and she went out of her way to do it. So I think it makes her look very fishy to people, and I can see it being a calculated move from Johnny Team's side of things, and that's what Amber said, and that actually did kind of make some sense to me. I don't understand it making sense on Amber's side. I don't get what she's getting out of putting these videos out there, because that's the thing that made her look suspicious. And if she kept it low, she would have got more money out of this thing from Johnny, if she didn't have that much information on him. But at the same time, I can see, like, he does not want this idea out there, and if they know that she is going to get a restraining order, then it's going to alert people that a domestic abuse thing was going to happen either way. So to get ahead of it, what you'd want to do is cast this woman as a liar and a gold digger and make her out to be lying about everything, and that way this rumor will not stick to him. So I can see, if I were working for Johnny Depp, I could probably give that idea to him as a way to navigate through this thing. Because if they knew that she was going to get that TRO on the day that she said, it makes sense to me. So I don't know if the jury will understand that point. The way Camille was bulldozing over Amber's answers to the question, I think it actually made you side with Amber a little bit. It made Camille look very annoying, like she was restricting the information, and the jurors want as much information as possible to make their decision. And the way she was like limiting everything, she wouldn't let her answer questions, she came across as, it's just not a good look for her, the way she wouldn't let her answer these questions. And they have so much time left. There's no good reason to like not let her answer the questions properly. It's not like Johnny Depp's side, where they had that time crunch, and Johnny Depp talks so slowly. Like it makes sense why Rottenbone was like, "Can you hurry up? Can you say yes or no?" Whereas with Amber, it's like, let her make her point a little bit. Just let her explain herself a little bit more before you cut her off. And all those objections, I think it makes them look very suspicious. So I think this is the one good point that Camille, it's one of the one good points that she had against Amber. And her drilling down on it like that makes her look, it just ruined that point completely, in my opinion. Maybe I'm alone in that, but I think it kind of ruined my opinion of her. At first I thought she was kind of cool, but now she's looking a little bit incompetent by drilling down on it to that degree, because she ruined the point. And that whole thing where she showed a picture of Amber and her friend the next day with where the bruise was invisible, I think that casts some doubt too, because if Amber is as manipulative as she seems to be, she would flaunt that fake bruise day after day to make people feel sympathy for her. And if the bruise wasn't visible the next day, and she's saying, I covered it up with makeup, it's like, well, she has to be one of two things. It makes more sense that the bruise was real and that she covered it up with makeup. Because if she wanted the bruise to be visible, she would have it on show every day so that people would notice it. So it dampens the point. She ruined it. She killed her point, the only good point, and she killed it. Another point that they kept hammering home is like how Amber's saying that everything she's saying is the truth. And for her to be saying everything that she's saying is the truth, that means a bunch of people on Johnny Depp's side are lying. They just committed perjury for no good reason. And at the same time, that would mean... when you think about Amber's witnesses, like her witnesses, did they commit perjury as well? Because if that trailer thing, if they saw the trailer being a mess, that would mean that they committed perjury for no good reason. They have no reason to lie either. So there's people committing tons of perjury. We don't know which side of it it's coming from, but I mean, I don't think Amber has enough leverage to get people to do it. She doesn't have the money to tell people to lie on her behalf. And her witnesses were very convincing to me. And you see Johnny Depp's witnesses, you think he could pay all these people off. These people maybe came out of the woodworks just to get their fame, and they have no good reason. They aren't saying anything interesting, especially these new ones that came out that no one knows about. Like, they have nothing interesting to say. And we've seen his witnesses lie on his behalf before. People that work for him have lied on his behalf before in the UK trial, and that's something that was proven. And with Stephen Deuces, they have this text message. I don't know if this is in evidence, where he talks about Johnny Depp, that they witnessed Johnny Depp kicking her on the plane, and he said that happened, and it wasn't just placating her. He volunteered that information for no good reason. He said, like, we know that he kicked you. Like, she didn't say he kicked me, and then he was like, yes, he did, we saw that. Like, it's just saying, it just makes it seem like it's the truth, that Amber's telling the truth. I don't know if they've shown this text, but a bunch of people have lied on his behalf before, and Amber's witnesses, they haven't said anything too strong. Like, they've been very adamant that they have never seen Johnny Depp actually hit her in real life. Like, they've never witnessed it with their own eyes. And the damning, like, the most important witness is Io, I think, in all of this, and he's a very credible witness to this thing, overhearing this phone conversation. And that's the key thing, like, proving that Johnny Depp threw the phone at her face. That's the key thing to prove, to show that he's acting with malice, because that phone, because they have played that phone conversation where Amber's very convincing. She doesn't sound like she's acting, where she said, I told Io to call the cops while it was happening, because I was afraid that you were going to kill me like the first time, like in our previous fights. Things have gotten crazy enough where I thought you might kill me. So I think that's a very convincing thing, and that's something that you'd have to consider. And Io has no reason to lie about that thing. Very specific things, like saying that, like him saying that he would pull her hair back, like that's something that's referenced as well. Him ripping Amber's hair out of her head, very violent thing, because physical violence, like to prove that the physical violence happened, there have been witnesses to seeing blood on Amber's hair, and maybe it's self-inflicted or something like that, and that clumps of her hair being pulled out. That's something that she has taken pictures of, and they haven't given you a counter argument against that idea. So her witnesses have no reason to lie. It's again he said, she said. Who do you believe is giving you more credible testimony? And I believe Amber's witnesses a little bit more. They never say anything as strong as, like, I've seen him hit her in real, like, they've never seen Amber hit him, and they've never seen him hit her, because those in domestic abuse that tends to happen in private, so it's not really something that anyone would be a witness to usually. I think these pictures are submitted into evidence, and there's been witnesses to it. Rocky has been a witness to seeing it in real life, that her hair, clumps of her hair was on the floor, seeing a hole in her hair with blood coming off it. That's a very violent action. Maybe it was self-inflicted. It's very hard to believe that she would pull her own hair out to make this point, to fake this thing. And there's not enough evidence of this whole thing being a hoax. She's not a good enough actress. I'm sorry, no offense. She's not a good enough actress to be faking all that stuff and to convince all her friends, because I think you do believe all her friends, the acting coach, were convinced that Amber was stressed out at the time. I don't think she tricked them. I think she even convinced Johnny of it at some points. So yeah, it does seem like it's hard to believe that she would pull her own hair out and like hit her face to make those bruises. I believe the bruises look realistic. Even if it looks like light bruising, they look realistic. It's just, does it match the description? It's just something that they have to decide. But it's too weird a thing for her to make this up. And even with these borderline personality or histrionic, I don't think this is the kind of thing that would explain this. I think it's psychopathy or something. Like this is another level. I don't think it's explained, like why she would do these kinds of things, and it's not a lot of evidence of her doing self-harm in the past to make sense of her faking this kind of thing. So again, it's he said, she said. No one has ever seen him actually do these things because he does it in private. So all these things tend to happen in private. Even in real life, you don't expect to see these kinds of things. In a domestic abuse situation, you'll never see this kind of thing mid-attack. And again, like earlier on, she asked Amber about cocaine. And this is such a funny exchange where Amber's explaining to Camille Vasquez how to do cocaine and using a straw to do cocaine. So that's why it wouldn't be messed up on the thing. It was so funny that she had to explain this stuff to her, and then saying, I have never taken a picture of Johnny Depp doing cocaine mid-snort. But you don't need to see a picture of that to know that Johnny Depp has done cocaine. It's very obvious. And that's how you have to look at this domestic abuse thing. Like, you will never see a picture of Johnny Depp or a video of him beating her up. It's just a collection of these things. And on balance, does it make sense that he probably would have done it when you think about it? And on balance, like, I think, yes, it makes sense that he would do this over her orchestrating this big hoax. That's not something that makes any sense to me. And they both admit to having fights. They both admit to being in fights, physical fights. He just doesn't expand on what his side of it is. But the best case scenario at this point for Johnny Depp is mutual abuse. Based on all the evidence, that's the best case scenario, is mutual abuse. It's not like he can't be a victim at this point. There's no way he can be a victim at this point. To close things out, Amber reiterated that whole point of how Johnny Depp signed his name onto this mutual statement that they said that neither party made false accusations for financial gain. And she said that point one more time for people who did not hear it, that he signed his name onto that. So if that's not true, then he looks like a liar because he signed his name onto that. And he never made accusations of being a victim until recently, until people came out of the woodworks and with these weird theories of him being a victim. And he decided, maybe I can pull it off. Maybe I can be a believable victim. It just seems like a recent thing that he came up with. And I don't know why he thought it was a good idea based on all this information. I think when it first started, when we didn't know anything, it was very possible to believe that he accidentally hit her with this phone. He threw it in her direction, and it did hit her and it caused the bruise, but he didn't mean to do it. And for her to accuse him of domestic violence, you think, yeah, she is being an opportunist gold digger and she's lying about stuff, and he's not that bad. But now when you get all this information, it's like he maybe did do everything she did. And when you look at both their stories, it is like he said, she said. You'll see that Johnny Depp is not a credible witness. He doesn't remember a lot of things. The drugs and alcohol affect his memory. And maybe it doesn't affect his memory. Maybe he knows more than he's letting on. This whole idea of the monster, personally, I don't believe it. I think he has more awareness of a lot of these fights. I think he knows that he has hit Amber before. I don't think that's news to him. And the fact that like he's constantly changing his stories, whereas Amber's story, if you pay attention, her story has been the same the entire time. She's not a liar when you really look into it. There's maybe like some things she's misspoken here and there, but overall, of the two of them, she seems like the more credible witness. And this whole thing, he said that he has never struck a woman in his entire life, and you just need to find the jury just needs to believe that he physically abused her one time, and then she automatically wins. And it's very easy to come to that conclusion based on the things that they've heard. I don't see how they could decide that there's no way he could have done that. Like these audio tapes of her having broken up with him after he beat the shit out of her, and then he doesn't deny it, and it's just, there's no way he can. It doesn't make sense for him to deny that he has hit her one time. If he doesn't remember, it makes no sense to say that he has never done it. Again, it's like a freedom of speech thing. She never used his name. There's no way that she can lose this thing, in my opinion. And this whole thing with the counterclaim, she's hammered home this idea of like he said that this whole thing is a lie, that I'm a liar. And she's getting death threats every day and blah blah blah, and it maybe makes them have a little bit of sympathy. Like the jurors aren't sequestered, they have some idea of what's going on, so maybe they will like award her some damages, because when you look at her story makes sense. So there's not a lot that you could doubt. Like, she becomes the more credible person, and the more I'm learning about Amber Heard, the more I'm starting to like her. I think before, when she was a domestic violence spokesperson, I didn't see the point, like, cause she couldn't go into details of what happened. But now that she's said everything, she can't. She's not held back from saying anything because it's all out in the open. Hopefully it'll be a good thing in the future, and that people will change their minds about everything and realize that she didn't do anything wrong, because I don't think she did anything wrong, even like fighting back in the way she did. She's not wrong to do it, and she has more valuable things to say now the truth is out there. So I think it's a good thing for her that this has all come out, because people did think that she was a gold digger and a liar before all of this. They did. It wasn't that she was automatically believed. That's a lie. I remember that a lot of people did not believe her from the very beginning, and now that all this information has come out, she does seem a little bit better in my eyes. So I think it's gonna be a good thing in the long term. Once when the verdict is read, things can be good for her in the future. Hopefully.